there's about to be a Francisco Alvarez, Luis Torrens conversation that I don't think any of us really, wanted to have this year. It's an odd one, right? Because we're not just sitting here and going, Alvarez has been so bad, try anything different. Torrens has been so good on top of Alvarez's struggles that's how this door has opened. And it's not just defensively for Torrens. We've seen his approach at the plate. He's somebody that is just showing he knows how to come up in a big spot. I'm very mixed right now on Alvarez, Joe. It's not just the lack of strength because of the hamate injury. There is just a clear multi-layered problem at the plate right now for Alvarez, whether it's hitting the ball on the ground, not having power, not working counts like we know he can do. And then defensively, Alvarez is fine, I think, behind the plate, but Torrens and Senger, to a point, are better typically at consistently throwing to second base. And I think they're so good that puts Alvarez in a tough spot. But here's the thing. For most teams, because he's so talented and he's still so young, you ride this out with Alvarez throughout the year. And we've seen so many teams across baseball with young catchers that have really, really disappointed early on. Just ride it out for years because that's what you do. The Mets, and this is a luxury now being a Met fan, are a team that has bigger aspirations than just player development. They want to win games. They want to win the biggest games. And if a guy is producing in one spot, he deserves to play more, whether that kind of takes a step over some player development or not. And then also maybe, Joe, maybe the best thing for Alvarez right now is split duty at catcher between him and Torrens, where he needs more time rather than just trying to constantly work through issues, which is what it's felt like now for about a year and a half with him, both physically with injury and both mentally in terms of constantly changing approach.
Connor, I was 100% convinced that Luis Torrens was hitting a sac fly and walking off that game Friday night. You couldn't have convinced me otherwise. Obviously, that one didn't work out, but just flat out, Torrens has been better than Francisco Alvarez, and
by a wide margin.
Yeah, by a real significant margin. And Carlos Mendoza playing Torrens 2 and then Alvarez playing 1. I think that's a sign that the tides, I'm not saying are turning to the point where Alvarez is now Torrens' backup, but when Alvarez was working his way back, I remember us answering a mailbag on this show, and someone asked, how do we think the playing time will be divvied? And I think we were like 60-40 Alvarez, something like that. I think that's going to flip. I think Torrens is now in a position with the way he's performing, both offensively and defensively, as you mentioned. He should be getting the bulk of playing time, and Alvarez split time and kind of just flip it the way you originally envisioned. And as far as Alvarez's approach at the plate, one thing, he did change his swing, change his mechanics. He is generally shorter to the ball this year than he was last year. It's not as long of a swing, but he's really struggling with velocity. That's what it comes down to. And coming up through the farm system and early on in his professional career, when he hit 23 home runs as a rookie, Alvarez punished fastballs. And it was the breaking stuff and off speed that would get him off balance. He's struggling with velocity right now, and that's not a good sign. So we're not out on Francisco Alvarez on the Mets pod. But as you mentioned, Connor, this is a team with aspirations to go to the World Series, not just be a contender, not be a playoff contender, not try to get a wild card. They want to win the NL East. They want to win the NL, and then they want to win the whole thing. So that means throughout the season, you have to a degree, put player development and growth just a little bit to the side and give the opportunity to whoever is performing the best at the moment. And whether that's playing Brett Beatty every day and Starling Marte is just hardly playing baseball, so be it. If that is Torrens catching and Alvarez just kind of being a pseudo backup temporarily, great. And you know what? Maybe this lights a fire under Alvarez, and we circle back here in 3 weeks from now, and Alvarez is hitting, and all of a sudden we just get back to the way we hoped it would be.
Right. That's a really good point with it lighting a fire under him, because that kind of matches his personality, and we've seen this time and time again with the kind of different flows of guys' careers, right? Vientos was written off and sent down multiple times before his breakout. Beatty was written off and sent down multiple times before he's found success this year. So I'm not saying send down Alvarez, because that's not happening and doesn't need to happen right now, but maybe just more breaks and a little bit more time. And I don't like saying sending a message because that it comes with the assumption that Alvarez isn't working hard. And I've never had that impression of Alvarez. I think he works extremely hard. I think he cares a lot. I love the passion he plays with, especially for a team right now that without Winker in the lineup, it's not that they're not passionate. It's just that they lose a little bit of that sandpaper they have, or an edge. And I think Alvarez plays with an edge, which is really, really important for this team. But yeah, it just might be a time where you're really fortunate that you have a veteran in Torrens that can hold the fort while the young player is kind of going through it and kind of figuring it out. And this happens across the sport with every single team. I mean, there are so many different young players in the sport, especially at catcher. I notice it the most at catcher in the league more than any other position because there's so much on your shoulders. And then when you have another thing thrown on that is coming back from an injury that affects your overall strength, that's a lot for a young player right now. And I would preach patience with Alvarez from the fan base, but I would also encourage more opportunity for Torrens for the Mets to get them through this patch right now.